With our struggle since the 60s, you will see nothing but betrayals by the petty bourgeois elements in our society. The African bourgeoisie is the most corrupt bourgeoisie in the world. In Africa, they seek luxury in the midst of mass suffering. There are more Mercedes in Africa than in any other continent in the world. In America, as soon as they arrive at a position based on this blood of the people, they snatch that position and run away from the people. But you must not think that they represent the people. They only represent their opportunistic self, using the people every step of the way. So you must not be confused. It must be clear then, for the 60s, the class struggle in the African Revolution must be more ruthless and uncompromising than in any other revolution. Here then the masses must come without pity and without mercy to trample upon these reactionary pigs who, after the people have gained struggle through their blood, come to hand back the gains on a silver platter to the very enemy the people fought. This will come as a natural consequence. The people themselves are everywhere screaming that it's time for them to deal with these reactionary pigs. Even in America, they say, our leaders must be held accountable. They're only saying here that these people must be accountable to those who made it possible for them to get there. Thus, not only is the revolution inevitable, but it is clarifying itself and it is qualifying itself. For the African masses everywhere, the clairpoised position now for class struggle has become inevitable and irreversible. The petty bourgeoisie everywhere will be running for cover, but the masses will spare them not. Consequently, we who have dedicated our lives to the people's struggle, we who, knowing that the people will always be free, we, understanding that we must make a contribution to qualify our struggle since the 60s, have been dedicating all our energies to only one task: the organization of the masses of our people. The organization of the masses of our people. We are not running for mayor, we're not running for president. No changes can come from the top down. We're not stupid. Changes can only come from the bottom up. The masses and the masses alone can make them. If you want to learn something from the 60s, the lesson is simple: organize the masses of the people. Thank you.
Instead of being the coordinated crystallization of the people's innermost aspirations, instead of being the most tangible, immediate product of popular mobilization, national consciousness is nothing but a crude, empty, fragile shell. The cracks in it explain how easy it is for young independent countries to switch back from nations to ethnic group and from state to tribe, a regression which is so terribly detrimental and prejudicial to the development of the nation and national unity. As we shall see, such shortcomings and dangers derive historically from the incapacity of the national bourgeoisie in underdeveloped countries to rationalize proper praxis in order words, their incapacity to attribute it to any reason. The characteristics, virtually endemic weakness of the underdeveloped country's national consciousness is not only the consequence of the colonized subject's mutilation of the colonial regime, it can be attributed to the apathy of the national bourgeoisie, its mediocrity, and its deeply cosmopolitan mentality. They want to be like the white folk. The national bourgeoisie, which takes over power at the end of the colonial regime, is an underdeveloped bourgeoisie. Its economic clout is practically zero, and in any case, no way commensurate with that of its metropolitan counterpart, which it intends replacing. In its willful narcissism, the national bourgeoisie has lulled itself into thinking that it can supplant the metropolitan bourgeoisie to its own advantage. But independence, which literally forces it back against the wall, triggers catastrophic reactions and obliges it to send out distress signals in the direction of the former metropolis. The business elite and university graduates, who make up the most educated category of the new nation, are identifiable by their small numbers, their concentration in the capital, and their occupations as traders, landowners, and professionals. The national bourgeoisie possesses neither industrious nor financiers. The national bourgeoisie in the underdeveloped countries is not geared to production, invention, creation, or work. All its energy is channeled into intermediary activities. Networking and scheming seems to be its underlying vocation. The national bourgeoisie has the psychology of a businessman, not that of a captain of industry. And it should go without saying that the rapacity of the colonists and the embargo system instilled by colonialism hardly left it any choice. Welcome back. Happy Monday. Welcome back to On the Shoulders of Giants. I am Joseph Ward, and we're continuing our reading of Frantz Fanon's book, Wretched of the Earth, picking up on chapter 3, which is the trials and tribulations of national consciousness. And we're starting off talking about the failures and the flaws and the selfishness and the sellout nature of members of the bourgeoisie who hold up the system of white supremacy, because they are dependent upon the system of white supremacy, because that's where they see their so-called individual independence, the individual success, the individual upward movement, right? So they will do what they need to do to get to where they need to go while selling out the masses. And these are the people who are in the positions that we count upon to advocate for us. So if they're advocating only for themselves, then who in turn are advocating for us, right? But at the same time, our leaders, as Stokely Carmichael said, our leaders should come from the grassroots. Our leaders shouldn't be given to us by our former oppressors. In the case of what we're reading about in this book, we're talking about African nations who found their independence from the colonizers, but still found themselves dependent upon the colonizers for their survival. Sounds familiar? We are no longer physically enslaved here in America, but our survival is 100% dependent upon the system of white supremacy here in America. We're dependent upon America, period, whether it's the system of white supremacy or not. We're dependent upon America for our survival. So how do we get here? Well, when you are underdeveloped and you're thrown out to be quote unquote independent, but you have no means of building yourself up and empowering yourself, you will be in need of the same people who just quote unquote liberated you. So how free are you really? Now, true freedom can be sought. Self-actualization can be attained, but you have to actually unify and work for it. And as of right now, that's not even at the top of the agenda for Black America. But us as individuals and us as a critical mass, that need to be the top of our agenda. Us making sure that we are the best versions of ourselves, and we're actually working with each other to build ourselves up and have what we need to be self-sufficient. And if we don't do that, we got to start complaining about white supremacy. Because white supremacy is doing what it's supposed to do. When we going to start doing what we supposed to do? So I'm going to pick back up on page 98, the last paragraph. Under the colonial system, a bourgeoisie that accumulates capital is in the realm of the impossible. To our thinking, therefore, the historical vocation of the authentic national bourgeoisie in an underdeveloped country is to repudiate its status as bourgeois and an instrument of capital and become entirely subservient to the revolutionary capital which the people represent. In an underdeveloped country, the imperative duty of an authentic national bourgeoisie is to betray the vocation to which it is destined, to learn from the people and to make available to them the intellectual and technical capital it culled from its time in the colonial universities. We will see, unfortunately, that the national bourgeoisie often turns away from the historic and positive path, which is both productive and just, and unabashedly opts for the anti-national and therefore abhorrent path of a conventional bourgeoisie, a bourgeoisie that is dismally, innately, and cynically bourgeois. So that's funny because it made me think about the what the talented 10th here was supposed to be. The talented 10th was supposed to be a class of black people who go out into the world, get all the skills and the traits and the connections and get everything they need and come back and bring it back to their people and build their people up. But similar to the bourgeoisie in these so-called liberated African countries, the bourgeoisie go out and get what they need to get for themselves and don't turn their back on the masses and don't look back and keep going and keep growing. And then those people are used as examples of saying, see, if you just do this, you could pull yourselves up from your bootstraps. But you got to have boots to pull yourselves up from your bootstraps, and you got to have the resources to pull yourselves up from your bootstraps, right? And these resources and these opportunities are not available to the masses. But the thing is, we're supposed to have a minority who goes out and get these and bring it back, so we can actually make the boots for ourselves to pull ourselves up from our bootstraps. But you know, when you're out for self, what we supposed to do about that? But at the same time, the masses still have to come up with the proper plans for themselves to empower themselves. Because if you can't count on your so-called talented 10, then you have to count on yourselves. You have to create your own grassroots talented 10 to be able to go out and bring back the resources. But they have to be conditioned to understand that they go out and bring back the resources. We have seen that the objective of the nationalist parties from a certain period onward is geared strictly along national lines. They mobilize the people with the slogan of independence, and anything else is left to the future. When these parties are questioned to their economic agenda for the nation or for the regime they propose to establish, they prove incapable of giving an answer because, in fact, they do not have a clue about the economy of their own country. This economy has always developed outside of their control. As for the present and potential resources of their country's soil and subsoil, their knowledge is purely academic and approximate. They can only talk about them in general and abstract terms. After independence, this underdeveloped bourgeois, reduced in number, lacking capital, and rejecting the road to revolution, stagnates miserably. It cannot give free expression to its genius that was in the past hampered by colonial domination, or so it claims. The precariousness of its resources and the scarcity of managerial talent force it for years into an economy of cottage industries. It is inevitably highly limited perspective. The bourgeoisie's idea of a national economy is one based on what we can call local products. Grandiloquent speeches are made about local crafts, unable to establish factories which would be more profitable for the country than for themselves. And bourgeoisie's cloak local artisanship and chauvinistic tenderness, which not only ties in with the new national dignity, but also ensures them substantial profits. This cult for local products, this incapacity to invent new outlets is likewise reflected in the entrenchment of the national bourgeoisie and the type of agricultural production typical of the colonial period. Independence does not bring a change of direction. The same old groundnut harvest, cocoa harvest, and olive harvest. Likewise, the traffic of commodities goes unchanged. No industry is established in the country. We continue to ship raw materials. We continue to grow, produce for Europe, and pass for specialists of unfinished products. So basically, they're saying the system doesn't change. So it goes back to the quote Dr. Runoko Rashidi made that if white people disappeared today, the system of white supremacy would continue. So this national bourgeoisie is in this independent nation and still continuing to operate the industries, still continue to operate the politics, still everything from top to bottom, operating in a fashion that would still empower their so-called former colonizers. You're still producing or using the same industries and producing the same things that is enriching your so-called former colonizers, but you're free. You're free, but you're enriching others while further impoverishing yourselves. So we're further putting ourselves in these holes. And so as I was reading, he was talking about the industries and the jobs and the grandiloquent speeches are made about local crafts, unable to establish factories, which would be more profitable for the country and for themselves. The bourgeoisie cloak local artisanship and the chauvinistic tenderness, which not only ties in the new national dignity, but also ensures them substantial profits. This code for local products, this incapacity to invent new outlets is likewise reflected in the entrenchment of the national bourgeoisie and the type of agricultural production typical of the colonial period. So that made me think about a lot of the projects that I see going on in Black communities in my city and in other cities that I get a chance to go to. Falls under these categories. And it's usually those still classified as the talented 10th, the educated class, the class who are supposed to pull everybody up. No, it's the same old rigmarole. Everybody's doing the same thing over and over and over and over because we're not learning from our history. That's why reading these books is so powerful. I'm learning a lot from reading this book because it's even showed me that we here on this channel are doing some of the same things that haven't worked in the past. So now, all right, so now we got to back it up and rethink some things. We got to study more. We're not ready for revolution. That's the hard pill for a lot of us to swallow is we're not ready for revolution. We don't have our stuff together in any shape, form, or fashion. And what we do think we have together, it's already been done. It's already been done. We're just repeating something that didn't work. Your enemy already crushed it. They're ready for it. They have several remedies for it. While we just stumbled upon this information, it's new to us. And because of our lack of research and our lack of knowledge about what happened before us, we're going to do the same thing, the same vigor and enthusiasm as those before us and get the same result. Now we in our feelings, but we didn't do our homework. So we starting here on this channel, we got a lot of homework to do. We got a lot of homework to do. This mountain is a lot steeper than what we thought.